What's going on, everybody? It's Jamie.
And John.
And welcome to the A-To-Z Reseller Podcast. What's going on this week, John?
Man, not too much. It's been a pretty good week. It's been a little bit quiet on the sales, but overall, can't complain. I've got a nice relaxing week going. Playing some softball, hanging out with some dogs. Really can't complain about the life stuff. But yeah, sales have been a little slower, but not overly alarming.
I started running sales, I think, after we spoke last week, and it's really, for me, been a turnaround. My eBay has just been like, obviously 30% off sales is gonna move some items anyway, just by itself. I think I got some 15% off sales going as well on some kind of stuff that's maybe not super old, but old enough that maybe I'd like to move it. That's made a big impact. But yeah, prior to that, it was pretty rough for me on eBay. As far as Poshmark goes, I've been messing around with some settings in Posh Sidekick, including the closet clear out function. I don't know, have you played with that yet or no?
I haven't used it yet because I tend to remember like a little bit later in the day, oh yeah, I should turn that on, and remembering that I have to turn off offer to likers first, otherwise it'll like double dip. So usually it's like later in the day when I remember it, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm kind of too late.
Yeah, I think with that too, you have to set it up 24 hours in advance. That's the other thing. So you kind of got to be mindful of it. But yeah, I had some pretty good results. I'm going to probably share maybe the end of the week here. I'll share on my channel, I assume. It wasn't crazy, but it definitely made some sales. So it's worth playing around with for sure. Yeah, I think we're going to kind of go back to some basic stuff here. So, whether we're talking about eBay, Poshmark, some third-party site you're selling on, what do you think it makes a listing successful if you're starting, a listing from scratch?
I think first impression. I mean, you can get away with having a few mistakes or not optimal things, I think, but first impression is a good cover photo. In my opinion, I think that is the number one most important thing. Because even if the rest of your listing kind of sucks, that's the first visual. That's the first thing that someone's going to see. Like, oh, what is this? And then they're going to click on it and hopefully get all the information and stuff. And, it's not just a good cover photo. But I think that's probably the biggest thing for me. I still have some old listings that I haven't yet like taken out of my storage area and brought them back into the house and take better pictures. I'm just kind of letting them eventually sell off, where I've got some poor photos, poor lighting and all that stuff before I had a good setup. But yeah, it's amazing how I've done it with a couple of things, and it's amazing just how big of a difference. Like, I could have an old listing and not even like end it and sell similar, just upload better pictures and it'll sell within a week.
Yeah, I agree with you. If I was going to say one thing that sells your item over somebody else's is quality pictures. The other thing I didn't really put too much thought into when I was starting out was filling in the item specifics. And I know eBay's really cracked down on that and added a whole bunch more that were mandatory. But those keywords that you throw in there really can help. I think that helps with the search outside of the platform. If somebody's searching on Google for something particular, all those keywords and all those things are definitely going to help drive traffic to your whatever you're selling, whether it's clothing, video games, hard goods, whatever it is. I think it really is helpful to have good keywords. A good title is important too, but sometimes I really feel like those item specifics can outweigh, the title, as long as your title is not just like black plain T-shirt, right? Like, I find titles a lot of times is one of the biggest things when I'm like searching for something to sell similar, because that's usually how I do like to list normally. I'm usually looking for a good title more than I'm looking for anything else that's sold. So they don't have to mess around with the title so much. And then I'll go in and, sort of mess around with the specifics a little bit. But I do agree with you, though. I would think the most important thing is still going to be the photos.
Yeah, although there is a lot of merit to those item specifics. And, I know it's a little bit of a pain sometimes. There's a few in eBay that just seem almost even kind of stupid, like in the clothing category. I've realized it. It's like, it's a T-shirt, it's under shirts, and then you have to say type, and it's like, well, it's just basic. Like, but I digress. I think that what it does is, obviously with like search engine optimization, like you say, if someone's Googling something, there must be some keywords or tags that are associated with some of those item specifics in eBay that they automatically kind of help with that SEO, like you're saying.
Yeah. And what I do see from other people, because you get a pretty good glimpse of what somebody else has done when you hit sell similar. Sometimes you'll see somebody sell something like, maybe it's an off-brand jersey or something else, but they might go ahead and put like Nike in one of those things, even though it's not a Nike jersey. People do that a lot too with like brands like some of the Aritzia, TNA, those type, because there's so many sub brands. You'll see some of the sub brands placed in there. I know that's sort of touchy. Some people really feel like that shouldn't happen, and other people are more wishy-washy about it. I don't really care either way, to be honest. But as long as the title is correct, and I don't think you're trying to like pull the wool over someone's eyes that they're actually buying something that they're not. I think putting those keywords maybe in the specifics isn't such a big deal. Same with in Poshmark, right? Ed? Do you usually use the 3 tags in Poshmark when you're listing as well?
Yeah, I do use the 3 tags in Poshmark. And, what I was thinking about when you were saying that is on eBay, I would say if you're tagging in similar brands or something to give it a little bit more visibility, to describe the likeness of the item, I don't really see that being an issue. But one thing I see on Poshmark a lot, and I think Poshmark's search is probably very suboptimal and needs some improvements. And so it affects it a lot more is if you're putting in your 3 tags that you're allowed, if I'm selling a Gap t-shirt and I'm putting in Gucci, Prada, whatever else, I don't deserve those results. If someone like that, my item shouldn't be showing up when someone's searching for a very high-end item if I'm selling a Gap t-shirt. But it will. So I would say on Poshmark, I'm a little bit more against it because I think it's a little bit more misleading because it has a bigger impact. But on eBay, it doesn't seem to have as big of an impact.
Yeah. And even though I guess we should say, or at least I feel like I should say, even though I'm saying that I'm not against that idea, I know when you do put multiple brands in a title, sometimes your listing could be taken down as they think it's not real. Even if it is, I had a pair of Kohans that were collabed with Nike, and I think maybe the insole or the sole of it was Nike, or I don't know why, but they were definitely Nike collab, and they got taken down because they thought maybe they weren't real or that you were selling. Yeah, so just someone saying like us are saying that maybe you could do that or we don't see a problem with it doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing to do, and your item potentially could get flagged from maybe not an actual person, but they run a lot of AI, right? That pulls down a lot of this stuff. So if it thinks something's wrong with your listing, it'll probably pull it down.
Yep. No, for sure. That's a fair point.
Yeah. So one of the other things was strategies. So I know we both promote listings on eBay, and you can promote in different ways on different platforms. What are your thoughts on promoting? Do you think it's a must, or do you think it's sort of like only if you want to get a little bit ahead of somebody else?
I think promoting, so for example, I do, once again, for anybody who isn't really familiar, I sell mostly clothing and some video games. And for me in clothing, I don't feel like promoting is quite as necessary because, typically I'm not going to be selling the exact same shirt that 50 other people have up, right? Clothing's a little bit more varied. But in the video game stuff, it's like, well, if I'm selling a Nintendo Wii and 700 other people are selling a Nintendo Wii, then of course, promoting even a few percent to be kind of near the top of the search results is helpful. That all said, I do promote everything on eBay at 3%. I don't necessarily think that it makes a huge impact on me. Like when I look back at the numbers, I see that maybe 3 out of 10 of my sales on eBay are from promoted listings. So, yeah, maybe that's getting me that extra 30% by volume sales, but would those items have sold anyway just by having a good listing, all those things we talked about in number 1? Maybe, right? So, but it is a little bit of a safety net. And for me, having that extra 3% in fees, if that's how they bought it, isn't a big deal. That's not going to change my margin by enough to even worry about it. One of the other things though that I see on eBay is and I don't think you can do it from the app, but you can do it from the desktop, is actually promoting like a daily amount, like actually, budgeting like an extra promotion amount to boost your listings or whatever. And I guess that goes for like Google and everything else, like basically a daily advertising rate. I think that's overkill. The only time I would ever use something like that, I think, is if I had like a very rare and unique item that was probably going to be worth like very big money, and is maybe it's the type of thing that would be better at auction, but you also don't want to like put it up too low and not get anywhere what it's worth. So maybe for those oddities where it's like, what, if I spend $30 to promote this thing extra above and beyond the usual thing, and maybe get that in some Google search results, but I'm selling it for $1,000 again, well, there's only 3%. But yeah, other than that, 3% across the board promoted listings, I don't do anything.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just at the bare minimum. I think the minimum you can promote on eBay is 2%. And I feel very similar to you. Unless I had a rare item that was maybe worth a lot of money or very, very rare or whatever, then I might consider promoting it more just so that it got out to more eyes. As far as Etsy goes, when I was selling on Etsy, I was definitely paying to have my items promoted outside of the platform, which I thought was a good idea just because Etsy's definitely, it's growing, but it's not as big as some of the other ones. And I would say a lot of my sales that I got on Etsy when I went back and looked were from off. It doesn't tell you that it was from like a Facebook ad or something, but I assume that's what they're targeting, right? Like Facebook, Google. I don't know where they push them all out. I know Facebook is a really big one for Etsy that will throw up, like when you're looking through like Facebook Marketplace, there are all kinds of Etsy ads in there. All
Etsy and Temu.
Temu, yeah. So yeah, and those ones on Etsy, I think to some extent, maybe they give you some free promotion, but I was paying. I had a daily budget on certain items that I really wanted to get out there, and I found it really worked. As far as Poshmark goes, you can pay now for promotion, right? Depending, I know the American Closet for sure. I've looked at that and I tried it through. I think I might have tried it through Sidekick or something with some free credits or something I had. I didn't find it made much difference whatsoever on Poshmark, but I haven't really played around with it enough to give an honest opinion about it. But it's not something I've ever felt like I needed to do, especially when we're already using, a Posh Sidekick anyway.
Yeah, and that's kind of where my head was at on that as well. And as you were talking about it, it's like I personally I couldn't see any point in doing extra promotions on Poshmark because, my listings are already set to relist every 60 days or something like that, whatever it is. I'm already using all those automation tools. And what is the new thing that they just came out with? Like it was something edit list or whatever. Like,
oh yeah,
what the acronym is, but it basically, relists or like kind of edit relists all of your items as well. So you've got that plus your daily shares plus, no items are going to be more than a couple months old if that's what you've got it set at. I think it would be pointless to spend more money.
Yeah, for sure. I set up that edit, whatever it is. It's an abbreviation. That's basically all you're doing is, I think it does a similar thing as share. When you edit your listing, it throws it back up top like you just relisted it.
Yeah.
Does it do exactly the same thing as sharing? I have no idea, but it certainly does do something. Whether it makes sales or not, I don't know. Actually, I think I've seen Michael from Posh Sidekick talk about that as well. That it was something people asked for, which is a cool thing about that company. Not that we need to try to shill that Posh Sidekick any more than we probably already do, but it is really cool that they do listen to people, and when people make suggestions, they actually go forward and try to help you figure those things out. So they're very active in the community that way, and I think that's really cool.
Yep, I will. I'll just add one thing to that. I feel like even with a recent, I don't know if it was just like a newsletter email or something that they put out. I don't know if they put a video out about it or anything like that, but I think it was pretty big of them to even say recently, like, technically, their services are against the terms of service of Poshmark itself. And, so that everybody, using it or getting into it should be aware of those things. And so I think it says a lot about a company who's willing to say, hey, we have a really great product here, but you also need to take responsibility as the consumer and know what all the terms and services are, and potential risks and stuff. Now, obviously, I don't think Poshmark has ever cracked down on it, because they're not going to promote or condone it, but at the same time, if they're making more sales, they're making more money. So I don't think Poshmark actually cares, but I think it was cool to see them actually point that out.
Yeah, I don't think Poshmark cares either. And I think it's the same sort of pushback that probably I see, and probably you see as well. People don't want to have to pay to play, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of it. Like what gets me when people, we're going to go in a whole segment about talking about this, but what gets me is, they're a company that offer a 7-day trial for absolutely free. You don't need a credit card. You can see for yourself. They'll make you enough money in 7 days that it'll pay for your month subscription, and you'll probably never have to pay out of pocket again. I think that's a really cool thing that they do, but people tend to not like the idea of having to pay for it, so they don't want to give it a chance. Yeah, I think if some people just gave it a chance, I'll say this, I don't care if people use my affiliate link or not. If you are skeptical, just try it. What do you have to lose? You're going to make sales, and you're not going to have to work very hard to make them. I would just try it. I could care less if I got the fraction of $1 that you get from a sign up. It's cool that that's available to us, but really, if you want to make sales and you want to work smarter, not harder, this is going to help you.
100%. Now, I don't mind shilling this for another little segment here, because I wouldn't even be associated with them and talk about them if I didn't believe in them 100%. And man, my time is way more important to me than that, whatever it works out to, $40 a month or something. Like, yeah, if $40 a month is actually a concern because you only make a couple of sales in a month or something, then maybe you're not ready. But man, I don't know. Like, for me, that is an easy decision.
Yeah, for me too. Well, so now I guess now that we're talking about sales, you probably have a sale of the week as well.
I do, yeah. So I sold a Wii bundle, and let's see here. This one I think had 14 games with it, and you may hear the dog scratching himself next to me. Here, calm down, Jackson. You're okay, buddy. Yeah, so this was a Wii bundle. I talked about getting this Wii in one of my Thrift With Me vlogs. I went into a Value Village and they had it marked way up. It was like 60 some bucks or something. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So I very politely talked to the woman and said, hey, I'm not complaining about pricing. I'm just curious. Is this correct? Is there a game in the console that I can't see or something? And, she's like, oh, no, absolutely. That is the price we put on it. But as I can see from this number, it's been sitting here for a few weeks, probably because it's 3 times overpriced. So let me adjust that for you. So it worked out really well. Got it at a good price. And then I actually bundled it up with a bunch of games out of my own personal collection as well, since I am sort of downsizing, making some extra cash that way. And so I sold the bundle, a console, 14 games, some accessories, the Wii Fit board for like $200. So that was a good one. Yeah.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Oh, and it was going to very rural, like northwestern Manitoba. So they paid like $57 shipping.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. I'm thinking, yeah, because you do calculate it on all your stuff, right? So whatever. Yeah.
But I did look at other options, and there was no cheaper option anywhere available for them. Like, it was one of those cases where even looking through like NetParcel or UPS or any of these other options, as far as what I have available to me here in rural Nova Scotia, they weren't getting it any cheaper than that.
And that would be too big to throw into one of those prepaid mailers from Canada Post too.
Oh, right? Yeah, because the box, like the Wii Fit board itself, was the killer there. So
you can't just snap it in half and slide it in.
Some assembly required.
Send a little glue with it, possibly. Yeah. So one of the ones that I was pretty happy about this week was I'm happy about the sale, but I couldn't 100%. I think it's a mini series Crisis. I think I'll throw the correct one up on the screen anyway, because I don't know much about comics. I'm learning a lot. So I had a set of 12, a mini series that sold for $79. I think I had it listed for $95. And then when I had somebody offer me 79, I'm like, yep, because I'm trying to get my money back, right? So that's step one of buying all those comic books. The cool thing about all those comic books is I've got a pile right behind me here. There's probably about 30 that I have to send in to be graded. There are a bunch of really good ones in there, so that's cool. I'm only maybe 25% through them. I've also set like a limit of, I think, about $8. If it's $8 or more, I'll probably list it on eBay. I've got a new shipping policy set up that makes it pretty good. I haven't sold any singles yet, but my listings have jumped up to, I was hovering around 700 forever because I was like selling more than I was listing most of the time, which is a good problem to have. And then sometimes I would like flood my listings. But I think I've got like an extra 80 listings up because I've been just listing a whole bunch of more things, right? And so it's hard to tell right now if my uptick in sales is from the extra amount of listings I've been throwing up or the promotions I've been running. I've got, like I said, a 30% off and a 15% off going, and then I've been listing more. So I'm doing all the right things. I just don't know which one of those things, is contributing to more sales.
It's probably a combination of everything. I mean, obviously running sales and stuff's going to be good. I actually meant to start up a sale here last night, but among other things that I didn't get to do, I passed out while watching the ball game. We talked about that earlier. So I get that sale started. But I think that anytime you're doing those types of things, and then if you are just listing more than usual, I think you do get a nice boost in the algorithm as well. So not only are you going to get visibility because of the sale pricing, you're probably getting a nice little kick from the machine for the extra listings as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. The only thing, go off topic here for a minute again, I guess, but the only other thing that I find a little odd when you run sales, I feel like from out from the depths of hell come all these people with like these ridiculous offers.
Yeah.
And not only are they like crazy offers, some of the messages that come along with them are just almost like insulting. Like they expect stuff for free. I'm like, what? Like I that's the only thing I hate about running sales. And I know it's part of it. And I'm just always polite about it and maybe a little passive aggressive, but never rude. Sometimes I'll be like maybe a little smart about it, but never full on rude to anybody because it's not going to help you in any way whatsoever.
Right.
But that just gets me when you start running bigger sales for the bigger discount. People then just assume that it can be cheaper than already way too cheap.
That's because the vultures come out and they see you sitting on the side of the road. Maybe you need a drink of water. You got your stuff cut down 30%. Oh no, what's happening? This seller's dying out here. I'm going to swoop down and try to pick this away. And so the vultures, they smell the desperation and they want to come in, and you've already got it 30% off, and then they offer you 20% of that price because they think, hey, there's a chance this person needs to liquidate. Maybe they've got a big personal expense that came up, some kind of family emergency, and they need money. Yeah. And it's a bit predatory, but I can at least understand why it happens. And I'm the same with you. I'm like, you know what? I don't like it, but at the same time, I just kind of reply bluntly, like, yeah, I'm just running a sale. I'm not actually in any desperate need to like move the stuff real quick. This is my best price. You can buy it now, or a week from now, you can get it at full price. Maybe you can send me an offer and I'll take it again. But
yeah, I think one of the only reasons why it bothers me is because when I am buying stuff, normally, I'm sure somebody could point out many times where this isn't the case, but I'm normally pretty direct. I'm usually like, I'm buying this to resell. Well, I mean, part of that is because, like I said, I'm usually filming if it's something that people are seeing anyway, right? So I'm usually saying what's going on, how much I'd be willing to pay, and then like with those comics, I did offer a fairly low price, but I also said like, hey, you might as well try to sell these, and if you don't, this offer's on the table. So just so you know, like I would buy these, but just maybe not for what you're asking. So yeah. It's just weird because I try to be as straight up as I can about things like that when I'm buying stuff from people. I'm not just trying to throw quarters at and see what sticks.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it on here or not before, but within the last couple of weeks, this was, you just reminded me of this. It was when I got an offer on my GameCube lot that I'm selling. I think I had it listed for like 650 or something, and it was like 50 some games or whatever. And I mean, obviously, I'm open to offers on it, but it's my own personal collection. I'm just, just fishing for cash basically. And this person's like, "Oh man, really? This would be so good. Like, you'd be helping me and my family out so much if you just, let me buy these." And he offers something like $200. It's like, look, I can see that you are a reseller or a seller because I can click on your profile and see that you have video games listed. Like, you are currently selling GameCube games. You're not. This wouldn't be helping you and your family out so you and your kids can play and enjoy these moments together. It's so you could resell them. And that's fine. Like, I don't care what you do with the stuff after I sell it to you. But, like, don't make up some BS story about how, like, try to tug at my heartstrings, because that's just not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do remember you telling me that story. I don't know if you were telling me on the podcast or just when we were talking, but yeah, that is kind of crazy. And I do the same thing. I usually click on the if it's something that I question, I'll click on their profile to see if they are a seller or if they have good feedback or like the whole deal, right? Because it's available to you for sure. Why wouldn't you? So yeah. So the next topic: how do you actually get sales on eBay, and how do you stay ahead of the trends that are maybe happening, or you not even worry about the trends?
I have two resources that I use, but mostly where I'm selling clothing or video games, I've got two almost completely different opposing views on this. With video games, I kind of just have enough knowledge to know that most video games that aren't like the brand new thing are going to have some value. You've got resources like price charting and whatever else to kind of know what things are worth. I kind of know what things are worth anyway. Um, so I don't think that doesn't really vary too much. Every now and then, like, another game just shoots up in price randomly, and you're like, "Oh, cool! Now I can get 60 for it instead of 40." But with clothing, it's a little bit different. But I would say that the one resource that I used on that was definitely watching other clothing resellers and trying to get an understanding of what's selling. A couple of channels that come to mind right away. For Canadian content would be like Tabs here in Canada. Poshmark Seller, a little bit on eBay, but mostly Poshmark, Tabs McCaffrey, and then Kaylee Elaine. I think she's in Ohio. So, it's good to get a good sense of what's selling. But again, you kind of have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because if you're watching a video that's a little bit older or even in a different region, the trends might not be the same. And clothing is so finicky. It can go in and out of style so quickly. My biggest resource for me, and I know not everybody does this, but I'm such a numbers guy and such a math nerd, that I've got the Excel sheet of every single sale with the breakdown of, I can filter it by what platform it's sold on, what my margins were, everything else. So I can look and really create my own sales reports from the last, 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever. What's my best brands? Is there a certain size that's performing better? And I keep all of that data for myself. But I do occasionally go back and look at like eBay sales summaries. I'll go and I'll download my Poshmark like sales report every now and then and just give it a little skim or take a look at those metrics. But yeah, I guess that's about it.
Yeah, I know on Poshmark every once in a while it'll show you at the end of the month on a little chart what brands have performed for you, right? I find it interesting to see that, and that actually will go back and show you from prior years and stuff too. If you actually dig deep, there's a lot of information that most of these companies give you to help you. I think I'm a lot like you. As far as clothing goes, I do rely on watching some what solds from people who sell clothing and get an idea of brands that I'm not aware of. I like to stick to a lot of bread and butter stuff that I do know about and like, which is why you see me pick up so many jerseys. And I just have a lot of faith in in eBay when you check comps. Like, that being said, I guess I'm not that trendy. I'm just looking for stuff that I like, right? And or stuff that it catches my eye enough to look it up and see if it's worth anything. Which is something I really should get back into doing. I buy enough stuff that I guess I don't need to have stuff that's going to sell instantly, I think it is a really good idea and really good advice to look things up when you purchase it, especially when it comes to clothing, because you can really hang on to something way too long, even though it looked good, sounded good, right brand, might not be the right thing to sell right now, right? It might be out of fashion. I don't know about fashion. Look at me. I've got a shirt with, I think there's tacos, sombreros, and donkeys on it. Got a band shirt on and a hat.
Yeah.
You think I know about fashion? No, you're not coming. You're not coming
No.
to figure out what to wear this year. I've been wearing the same crap for the last 20 years.
I'm 100% with you there. Like, I'm jeans and a t-shirt guy, ball cap guy, and have been since 1994. So it's like, I don't know.
Hey, we eventually come back in style when all the kids start wearing band shirts.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But no, it's just so it's funny, like to think about clothing and think about like how much things can change. But mostly, I will say, I've got something like 900 active listings on eBay, and probably 600 of those are clothing. I mean, the reality is 500 of those are probably just bread and butter items that I know are going to sell for $20 to $25, and they'll sell at some point, and I'll make some money at some point when they sell. And that's really like, that's pretty much my business model. But if I'm walking down the aisles of the thrift store and I see something really colorful or cool pattern, or something that just looks unique, yeah, we've got those eBay sold comps. Look it up. You don't have to look up every item, but you get that weird thing that looks like, hey, this could be something. Look it up. Take those couple minutes in the thrift store. I mean, worst case scenario, you've wasted 2 minutes to realize that, oh, 3 of these have sold in the last 90 days for $14 a piece. This is not worth it.
Yeah.
You've still learned something.
That's the part of it that's the part of it that needs to be talked about more, is the reality check part of it. Sure, when you find that one thing that's worth $100, $150, you're happy about it, you're excited about it, but how many things have you looked up before that happened that are worthless? A lot. People don't really like to talk about that part of it, for sure. And you go through a lot of junk before you find anything good, for sure.
Yeah. They think us scummy resellers are just walking in and grabbing all the good stuff and walking out the store in 5 minutes and making it rain cash. That's not how it works.
No, it's not. And that's one of the things that get painted in people's minds, right? Like you're going to start reselling, you go pick up some stuff you think that's good or good enough to pick up, and you wonder why they don't sell right away. Well, because you don't have, 500 to 1,000 items in your store that they're going to get sales every day. If you just have a handful of things, you're just starting out, getting that first sale, the second sale, those are really important. That's why it's so much more important when you're starting out to find stuff that's going to sell a lot quicker, right? So you do need to be more picky when you're starting out. That being said, like we've talked about before, I've got plenty of stuff in the room behind me that I wish wasn't there because I should have looked at closer. There's, maybe could be 100 reasons. We're all going to pick up stuff that are duds. That's, but you don't want to start out that way.
No, exactly.
All right. So I thought we could end today with talking a little bit about shipping, because I'm sure it's my number one question I get all the time. I get people, I really should do, and I've said this so many times, an updated shipping video. I just hate to put in the time to know that it gets outdated so fast. I get some of my older shipping videos from a couple of years ago. I still get people message me and ask me about letter mail for video games and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, like how many times do I want to rewrite the same type of thing over and over? So I thought we could just talk about it for a minute here. I know we're considerably different, even though we're both in Canada. We ship much differently, but I'll let you kind of talk about how you kind of take on shipping or what you think about it.
Yeah, sure. So, a lot has changed. A lot has changed since I started up, and I've got a shipping video, shipping in Canada, and how to do that. It's still one of my most viewed. Well, it's my most viewed video, but on a weekly basis, pretty much gets the most views. And but there is some outdated information there because I was a big proponent of the flat rate boxes back when I was starting out. But the reason for that is because Canada Post hadn't yet made good deals with eBay to offer up discounted labels. So for me, if I'm selling on Poshmark and it's a prepaid label, like we don't even need to worry about that. That's a different story. But if I'm selling something on eBay, okay, now if I'm selling in Canada, chances are, if it's something that's worth sending, you know, above letter mail, like if it's just like a DVD or something, I'm going to send that letter mail, pay the couple bucks, whatever. It's out the door, it's untracked. I'm not worried about it. But if we're talking about tracked items, I mean, typically I'm always buying a label through eBay now. And for me, because I don't have a lot of third-party options like Stallion Express or others that are in, you know, more populated areas, it's basically going to be either Canada Post expedited parcel or it's going to be UPS. So I haven't yet figured out a way to have my listings calculate both UPS and the parcel, because for whatever reason it seems like UPS is in the fixed cost even though it's a calculated rate. So I don't, keeping in mind I do everything from my phone. Maybe it's available on the desktop. I don't know. But in any case, so I just do calculated shipping on everything. I know what size box or polymail or things are going to go in. I take weights and I take a photo of those weights as I'm processing all of my inventory, so I know kind of what to put in there when I'm actually putting my listing in. And people are paying their calculated rate for an expedited parcel through Canada Post. If there's an opportunity for me to save a few dollars by clicking on that little pencil and going to UPS, UPS has some really good discounted rates right now if you buy your label through eBay, up to 75% off pretty much. So sometimes there's an opportunity to save there. But yeah, typically I'm not doing that flat rate stuff anymore because where I'm so rural out here in Western Nova Scotia that like that calculated rate usually just beats the flat rate box, but sometimes the flat rate box is still the better option.
Right.
So I don't know, you know.
How many times do you have somebody reach out to you and say, I want to buy this, but shipping is too much? Do you get that?
I do get that sometimes. And if that's the case, I'll typically go on like netparcel.ca and check, like I'll ask them for their postal code or whatever. And I'll kind of do like a little mock, you know, find a rate there. So NetParcel does also like, you know, compare all of these different shipping companies, Purolator, FedEx, UPS, Canpar, quite a few others. And I do have a little trucking company that's just down the road from me. They do the UPS. That's where I drop those off. But they also do take like FedEx Ground. They also take Purolator, Canpar, and a few others. So if that's the case and someone says, hey, can you do better on shipping? That's what I'll check. I'll check NetParcel to see if I can. Sometimes it does work out and I'll say, hey, look, you know, it looks like I could maybe send it for this price. But, you know, it's about the best I can do. If it's an item that's either been kicking around for a while or it's an item where I know I kind of haven't like lowered my price or anything yet and I'd be fine taking an extra $5 off or whatever, yeah, I'll just tell them like, hey, like send me an offer for this amount instead. I'll cover the actual shipping. You're getting a discount off the price. You're getting a couple dollars off the shipping, but it'll all work out to the same. Just, you know, my item's listed for 35. Send me an offer of 20 and I'll take it. Yeah. You know, and then cover it all from there. So it's very situational.
Yeah, I always found it interesting because I mean, there was a good amount of time where I had my shipping rate higher than I do now, and I get that question quite a bit from not just Americans, Canadians. I don't think a lot of Canadians understand how much it actually costs to ship because how many people would ship something besides a letter on a regular basis, right? It's very rare that you would. And I think it's very surprising when somebody goes to ship something.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I rarely ever get anybody from the US asking about shipping, mentioning shipping pricing, or having any concern with that at all because since I think it was Q4 of last year and that they've now since made it permanent, like Canada Post and eBay, because we didn't have an affordable tracked option to the US. Like tracked packet was just stupid. You know, it was like $26 to send a pair of jeans to New York from here. Now I can send that same thing for like half of that, you know, and a lightweight shirt for maybe $8. So it's cheaper to send to Hawaii than it is to New Brunswick. Like that makes zero sense. But with those discounted rates and with that you know, better setup for US to make things more competitive. The only time I'll ever have anybody ask me from the US is if like, you know, can you combine shipping? Like what would this be if I bought these two items? And then I'll just send them an invoice afterwards. And, I kind of know just by the combined weight how much that's going to cost, because it doesn't change. It's a flat rate by weight every time. But yeah, the only other thing I'll mention with shipping is since last year, I think it was, they also, and it's an eBay exclusive, Canada Post also is now allowing for that expedited light parcel. So a lot of times when you would send those video games or those small items that could fit in a little bubble mailer or something, and they were kind of like right on that edge of, no one wants to pay $20 for tracking for this, but man, I really don't want to lose $30 or $40 or $50 if they claim that it never arrived. Now I do the expedited light. That's what I set as the default shipping, and I do calculate it for that on all of those, like, 25 and up kind of smaller items, because, like, again, I'm weighing it. I know it's going to come in under that 200 grams. And usually for like $7.50 to $9, I'm getting a good tracked option. Like, that's cheaper than actually taking a letter in to the post office and asking them to pay the extra like $9 to make it registered letter for a tracking option. So,
yeah, and I think eBay's really good that way. So I do use eBay occasionally to buy shipping, especially if it's something I want to get out faster, because I am using a third-party carrier, Stallion Express. There are multiple companies like that, though. Chit Chats is another really big one. There are a whole bunch of other ones that are much like how I think Net Parcel works, but like, I think bigger than that. I can't remember. There was one that reached out to me in Hamilton that wanted to work with me, and they were going to try to build, wanted me to help them build brand awareness. But the problem was, I didn't want to do it at the end of the day, because Stallion Express, even though I don't make any money by spewing the name Stallion Express, and I don't get paid or anything to do that, it's the cheapest option for me, and I'm willing to drive a little bit to use it. So for me, it's going to give me Canada Post, but with better discounted rates than eBay, because they have they use something called Skip Zone, which is still, you can do expedited parcel, but expedited parcel Skip Zone is like a t-shirt might be like $7, maybe up to $10. But then if you're within the range of a courier, like Uni is like $5.10, and you can ship it a lot of places within Canada for that $5.10. So it's hard to beat that, honestly. But with that being said, I like to set up flat rates. So like things the size of a t-shirt and smaller is probably, I think it's set up for about $9 is what I charge, because it could go one way or the other. And then it's a little bit cheaper than that in the US, because I'm using United States Postal Service, and they have multiple programs through them that are much cheaper than anything Canada Post. And then when I get into shoes and things like that, I think I charge just a couple dollars more. And sometimes in the shoes, depending on where it goes, I can lose a little bit of money. Flat rates are definitely not the way to go unless you've been shipping for a while, because the prices of shipping can go all over the place depending on where it's going, or there's all kinds of factors that can affect the price of how much something's going to cost. So, if a third-party shipper like that's available in your area, I would definitely at least look into it. Like I said, I'm not really trying to shill anyone in particular. Whatever one's closest to you, you should try, because it would save you money. I do know with Stallion Express, one of the things you can do as well, if you're not near one, you can still look up the closest city that has one to you, and they have a program where you can use any courier service you want, and you just take all your orders from Stallion Express, put them in a large box, ship them. The only thing when you do something like that, you have to allow for handling time, right? So if you FedEx ground it to there and it takes a couple days, your orders are going to be delayed by a couple days. And when they get to the drop off, they might not get to it for a day. So you'd have to keep all that in mind. But there are options like that, especially for somebody who's looking maybe for a cross-border shipper. If you wanted to get into selling on Poshmark.com, but you don't really have a way to get your labels across, you could do that, because you probably would only be sending, one shipment in a week, and you'd probably be still making enough money that would be worth paying to get it couriered there. But it's so hard, right? Like, that's currently what I'm doing for shipping. That's currently what you're doing for shipping. 6 months from now, we could talk about this again, and it might be something completely different. Maybe,
like That's the thing about the shipping in Canada is it's so varied depending on what's available near you. Like if I was living in an area similar to yours and I had those same options, then I would be doing the exact same thing. I would do flat rate because again, I would know over time, like, all right, this is going to work out to about this every time. Like, you know,
Yeah.
and then that just comes with knowledge or just comes with experience. Right. Now it could be that 2 months down the road, my little third party family owned trucking company that's just down the road from me here in completely rural Nova Scotia, all of a sudden works out some deal that they are working with a cross border shipper, maybe, you know, and like maybe that comes available to me, and I'm doing things differently there. But you know, it's all about what's available to, and you know, when I say to newer people, and people are always asking questions on that old video, and you know, asking me to clarify, okay, so this is what you do, and you're saying do this. I'm like, no, I'm saying a year ago when I put this video out, that's what I was doing. And everything changes. You need to look at what is available to you in your area. You need to, you know the current rates. I know letter mail rates just went up like last week or so. I mean, I think after taxes now, if I'm sending out letter mail, like say I'm sending out a shirt that's I think between 400 and 500 grams. I think I'm paying almost $7 for untracked letter mail now through Canada Post. Like,
Oh.
it's getting to the point now where like it's not that different than if I buy a like UPS through label through eBay or something and actually pay for the track shipping. So things change so much. You've always just got to stay current and know what's available to you and do what you're the most comfortable with. You never want to get stuck at the end of the day having to send a parcel to the Yukon and it's going to cost you $87, but you only charge them $19.99.
Yeah.
You're going to want to quit reselling if you do that. So avoid those possibilities, learn as you go. I think you'll be all right.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest takeaway anybody watching this could really gain here would be like, we're both doing it completely different ways. We're both selling plenty of stuff online and we're both successful, I think. So, you know, one way is not necessarily right and do whatever works for you.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, on behalf of myself and John, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like videos like this, please give a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing on YouTube or Spotify, and we'll see you soon.